Upajana Vallabha Girvaradhari Upajana Vallabha Girvaradhari Shodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Shodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Parivradikacharya Statra Sata Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada founder Acharya Bhibhiti ISKCON ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. And we can say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 3, Chapter 2, which is entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna, text number 11. Pradarśya atapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāya antaḥ adhāt tu sva-bimbam loka-locanam pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhāt sva-bimbam loka-locanam pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhāt sva-bimbam loka-locanam pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhāt sva-bimbam loka-locanam. Mataji's. Pradarśya, by exhibiting atapta, without undergoing tapasām, penances, avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ, without fulfillment of vision, nṛṇām, of persons, ādāyā, taking, antaḥ, disappearance, adhāt, performed, yaha, he who, to, but, sva-bimbam, his own form, loka-locanam, public vision. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrī Prabhupada Ki. The purport is in 3 parts, and I will stop reading after one part and then have some discussion, and then later the second part and then the third part. Translation of the verse. This is Uddhava speaking to Vidura. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who manifested his eternal form before the vision of all on the earth, performed his disappearance by removing his form from the sight of those who were unable to see him as he is, due to not executing required penance. Please repeat. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who manifested his eternal form before the vision of all on the earth, performed his disappearance by removing his form from the sight of those who were unable to see him as he is, due to not executing required penance. So this verse is saying a few things. It's saying that Lord Krishna appeared to this earth for everybody, for everyone to see him. And it also says that the Lord then later on disappeared from the sight of those who were not able to see him as he is. So there is some lamentation here. And the reason, it says in this verse, for not being able to see the Lord as he is because people are not doing the required penance which is necessary to see him. So the first part of the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrī Prabhupada. In this verse, the word avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ, without fulfillment of vision, is most significant. The conditioned souls in the material world are all trying to satisfy their senses in various ways. But they have failed to do so because it is impossible to be satisfied by such efforts. The example of the fish on land is very appropriate. If one takes a fish from the water and puts it on the land, it cannot be made happy by any amount of offered pleasure. The spirit soul can be happy only in the association of the Supreme Living Being, the Personality of Godhead, and nowhere else. The Lord, by His unlimited causeless mercy, has innumerable Vaikuṇṭha planets in the brahmajyoti sphere of the spiritual world. And in that transcendental world, there is an unlimited arrangement for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities. So the lamentation in this verse spoken by Uddhava to Vidura is that although Krishna was visible for everyone, accessible for everyone, very few people understood who he actually was. Everybody could see that he was special, but to understand who he actually was fully was not understood by many people. So in this verse, Prabhupada is explaining that as in many other places in Bhagavad Gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that the conditioned souls in the material world, they are trying to satisfy their senses in various ways, always looking for happiness. But they have always failed to do so. As much in the past, as in the present, as in the future, will they fail to do so. Because it is simply impossible to be satisfied in this way. And that's where the comparison with the fish comes. For the fish, it's very clear to understand. For the living entity, it's a little bit more difficult to understand because we are so much into that lifestyle. But for the fish, it's very clear. You take a fish out of the water, he is not happy. He is not in his natural environment. Even if you give him a sleeping bag, or you give him a cheese pakora, or a guitar, or an iPhone, he will not be happy. So this example is given in Bhagavad Gita, is given here. But yeah, the simple fact is that for the living entities who try to be satisfied out of the water like the fish, it's simply impossible, and it gives a lot of stress, a lot of suffering is there. Although there is some little pleasure there in gratifying the senses, but there is a lot of consequences for it. There is a lot of karma, there is a lot of mental and physical illnesses that come from gratifying the senses against the ultimate nature of the living entity. So that's why we can expect to, we can see a lot of that around us, and we can see that there is a lot of disease, there is a lot of unhappiness, there is a lot of mental disturbances. Mental hospitals are full with people who are unable to control their mind and who are then fed with medicines to calm down the mind. But these are all very unnatural situations. This is very comparable with a fish out of the water. And that's why people become distressed, people become frustrated, people become sick, people become crazy, because everybody is pursuing, in the material world, is pursuing a lifestyle which is against the fundamental nature of the living entity. Because the constitutional position of the living entity is that we are eternal servants of the Lord. And whatever we do in that direction, that will give satisfaction, that will give happiness, that will give peace. But without living a lifestyle as Srila Prabhupada has given to us as devotees, then that happiness and that peace will not be there. In Bhagavad Gita, that verse 529, that speaks about a peace formula. Bhaktaram yagyatapasām sarva loka mahesvaram suridam sarva bhutanam Yatvam shantim richati. Where Krishna says, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. And in the Purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, the conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world. So the desire is there. A lot of people speak about it, about peace and happiness. Enjoy your peace, enjoy your meal, enjoy this, enjoy that. But, Srila Prabhupada says, they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this. Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Man should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because He is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than He. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma. And then Srila Prabhupada continues by saying, under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey. But actually, they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. So this is the purport of the verse that speaks about peace in the world. And then there are other statements, like another place where Prabhupada says, devotional service which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. In a letter to Krishna Dasi, Srila Prabhupada wrote, Krishna is always guiding us as the super soul. But due to our forgetfulness, we do not understand that Krishna is our everlasting friend. And indeed, in that purport which I read, there also it's explained, so Prabhupada explains that he has prepared the spiritual world for all of us to be there, to be engaged, and for all the living entities, he states it like that, to have unlimited pleasure. So once we are back home, back to Godhead, in our natural position, then there awaits for us the unlimited arrangements made by Lord Krishna to give unlimited happiness to the living entities. All we have to do is go back to what we in this lifetime, go back to what we are meant to be, eternal servants of the Lord. And through the process of devotional service, take up our lost relationship. That's all what is required according to Srila Prabhupada's explanations. Because it's actually amazing how to see, because it's so clearly explained in the scriptures, it's actually amazing to see how we hold on to these habits, attachments, just like we hold on to like a piece of glass, just a broken piece of glass. We hold on that, and even if somebody offers us a nice golden necklace and with a beautiful stone setting, we say, oh yeah, well, I'm not so sure about that one. I'm sure about my piece of broken glass. That I'm sure because I have it in my hand. But that beautiful golden necklace, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced, or I don't have enough faith. So we are in one sense hard-headed. We are not easy we don't learn so easy. To give up old habits is not so easy. And that's why sometimes we have a hard time to surrender. Especially when surrender means fully surrender. Surrender some time of the day, that's doable. But 24 hours a day, that's seems to be a lot. But unless we let that broken piece of glass go, then it will be difficult to come to that type of surrender which is expected from us. I will read now the second part of the purport. The Lord Himself comes to display His transcendental pastimes, typically represented at Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. He appears just to attract the conditioned souls back to Godhead, back home to the eternal world. But for want of sufficient piety, the onlookers are not attracted by such pastimes of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita it is said that only those who have completely surpassed the way of sinful reaction can engage themselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The entire Vedic way of ritualistic performances is to put every conditioned soul on the path of piety. By strict adherence to the prescribed principles for all orders of social life, one can attain the qualities of truthfulness, control of the mind, control of the senses, forbearance, etc., and can be elevated to the plane of rendering pure devotional service to the Lord. Only by such a transcendental vision are one's material anchorings fully satisfied. So here Srila Prabhupada explains that we need to adhere to the prescribed principles, and he also hints that varnashram dharma, that it helps as a social structure where everybody can find its place according to one's nature. And then in a Krishna conscious environment, varnashram dharma, which is then called Daivi varnashram, then we can uplift everybody, the four categories of social, the four varnas and the four ashrams. Everybody can then gradually uplift themselves in their Krishna consciousness. It's a structure that helps. It's like when you build a house or a building, then you take help of scaffolding. It's a structure that helps you to build. So varnashram dharma also, it's a structure where everybody has his place and everybody fits according to his social fulfillment, that one feels at home in that structure, because one is doing the right thing according to the abilities that Krishna has given us from our birth, from our nature. And in this way, then we can, in a Krishna conscious environment, varnashram, we can be at home at the same time, perform our devotional service in a nice, encouraging way. So varnashram dharma or daivi varnashram is helpful to uplift our consciousness in that way. And of course, like initiation, because Srila Prabhupada is speaking about following, so initiation also, at the time of initiation, we make promises. And if we follow this promising, then it will also uplift us in our spiritual life. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is saying, those who are not faithful in this devotional service, they cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So this is like this verse is lamenting about the fact that Krishna was on earth, and so many people had the opportunity to understand who he is, but some or other, due to their way, due to certain degeneration, due to certain consciousness, they were not able to really grasp that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also warning that those who are not faithful in this devotional service, they cannot attain me. And because faith is the foundation, like the foundation for a building, faith is the foundation. That's the first thing. First thing in spiritual life is that we have faith. So if that faith is not there, then we cannot, then it's very difficult to progress. And there are many statements in this regard, because Srila Prabhupada is referring to Bhagavad Gita. I will just read a few of these verses where Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me. And I am also a friend to him. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly, because he is properly situated in his determination. And in the first sentence of the third part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada, I will read that first part because we didn't read that yet, that when the Lord was present, persons who were able to satisfy their material anchorings by seeing him in true perspective were thus able to go back with him to his kingdom. Just like we have that pastime with where Lord Krishna and Balaram, when Akrura brought them to Mathura on the request of Kamsa, because Kamsa wanted to get rid of Krishna and Balaram, he had heard too much of their heroic activities. So he asked Akrura to pick them up and bring them to Mathura and then take part in that wrestling competition. So then Akrura brought them, because Akrura was a relative of Lord Krishna, and they had a good time together. So he brought them to Mathura, and then that was a few days before this wrestling match where Kamsa was going to be killed then. So then at that time, Lord Krishna and Balaram were just walking in Mathura, in the city, and they met Kubja. Another name for Kubja is Trivakra. And she was like a servant of Kamsa, and she was making these ointments to put on the body, aromatic and healthy ointments. And Lord Krishna, in a joking way, said, "What is this? Can I have some?" And she was very impressed with Krishna and Balaram, and she immediately said, "Yes, please take whatever you want." And then Krishna asked, "What is this? Who are you?" And she then explained, "I'm a maidservant of Kamsa, and I'm making these ointments since a number of years. I'm making these ointments for his pleasure." So then, as a reciprocation, because she was hunchbacked, she was a very beautiful girl, but she was hunchbacked. So then Krishna, with his toes, stand on the tips of her feet, and with his 2 fingers, he put under his chin, and he made her straight. And she became the most beautiful girl, because she already had a very beautiful face. So she became a very beautiful girl. And then she held on Krishna's upper cloth, and she said, "Please come to my house," because she also had another tendency, that she liked to be with man and etc. So then Krishna, of course, understood all that, and he said, "Well, I have no time, but I will come back on another time to fulfill your desire." So then, some days later, then when Krishna was with Uddhava, then Lord Krishna decided to go to the house of Kubja, and then she was very, very happy, and there was lots of decorations in the house, but also decorations which stimulate these loving scenes. So then she took a bath, and then she wanted to enjoy with Lord Krishna. But then when Lord Krishna embraced her, then all her lusty desires subdued, they disappeared, and she was free from. So this is in relation to this purport, this first line in the purport of Srila Prabhupada said, even though persons who serve Krishna with mixed feelings, then Krishna doesn't let them go. Krishna purifies them, which is very encouraging, because we all have, anarthas, we all have anchorings which we shouldn't have in a pure state, but we are not pure, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. If we would all be pure, then we wouldn't be here. So naturally, we also have certain inappropriate tendencies, but the encouraging information which is given here, that Krishna is helping us to get purified within the process, as part of the process of Krishna consciousness. So then the last part of that purport when the Lord passed beyond the vision of all, he did so in his original eternal form, as stated in this verse. The Lord left in his own body. He did not leave his body, as is generally misunderstood by the conditioned souls. This statement defeats the false propaganda of the faithless non-devotees that the Lord passed away like an ordinary conditioned soul. The Lord appeared in order to release the world from the undue burden of the non-believing asuras, and after doing this, he disappeared from the world's eyes. So here Srila Prabhupada explains that there is also a lot of misunderstanding, because when the Lord comes from the spiritual world to the material world, he doesn't take on another body. His body is always spiritual and eternally spiritual, and he can go to any planet, be it higher, lower, hellish, Vaikuṇṭha, Goloka Vrindavan. He is always in his spiritual body. So this fake news, so to say, that Lord Krishna left his body because he was shot by a hunter in his heel or whatever, that's so the Lord is always the Lord, and he always has his transcendental body, and he doesn't change bodies. We do change bodies. Only our soul moves on, but the body stays behind. But the Lord's body, he can just leave when he is on earth and he wants to go back to the Goloka Vrindavan, then he just goes back to Goloka Vrindavan. There is no need to change body. These are, according to Srila Prabhupada, stories of non-believers, because they want to put Krishna on the same level as the conditioned souls. But that's their problem. The reality is that Krishna has an eternal spiritual body, and he is always manifest in that eternal spiritual body. So I will stop here. If there are any comments or questions, then we have a few minutes. Jamastami Prabhu. They were distressed.
They were unable to process
The stress of the material world.
Yeah. As is presented in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8. So one who tolerates all these distresses, understanding the Purport as a result of one's past misdeeds, and goes on rendering service, body, mind, and words, then he becomes eligible to enter into pure devotional service. So, in a very deep, Prabhupada says on page, it used to be 92 in the Nectar of Devotion, I don't know about different versions of the Nectar of Devotion, but it's on chapter 10, under the subtitle, Expecting the Lord's Mercy. Prabhupada says that this verse should be the guide for all devotees. So, basically, they didn't understand, how to actually deal with it. So it's actually a very important verse. I remember I learned it when I went to my first adhāt test, back in '81 when I first visited Mayapur, and then I came back to America, and this one sannyasi recommended, where's this verse? So I did, and it's really powerful.
Hare.
So was everybody able to hear so far? Okay. Doesn't seem like it's working. I'll keep talking now. Maybe the battery on it. Alright, anyway. So the point is this, is that if we understand, if once Giriraj, the Prabhupada told Giriraj Swami that Krishna takes charge of our karma, our sinful reactions, and uses it to help us advance the Krishna consciousness. And then it's very
Hare.
interesting
Hare.
in the purport to 1.9.19, this is the passing of Bhishma Dev. I mean, talk about a difficult situation. Be on a bed of arrows, pierced with all these arrows. I think you got problems, Bhishma Dev. And then in the purport, Prabhupada says that the tribulations, the suffering a devotee undergoes is another transcendental bhav with the Lord. It's actually a loving exchange. So the challenge is, it intensifies the purification and enables us to actually come closer to Krishna if we persevere and we continue to serve Him with body, mind, and words. And anyway, that's something that we all need to deal with because we are in the material world. And if we look, this was something on the Japa walk this morning. I made the point that there's a famous verse 11.5.32 in the Bhagavatam. This is the prediction of Lord Chaitanya's advent. Krishna varnam tasha krishnam sankopangashta parshadam jagnani sankirtana prayarya jantihi sumedasa. So then in the subsequent verses, there's a description of how the suffering in Kali Yuga is so intense that people are forced to take shelter of the holy name. And when they do, they make incredible advancement. And the sages of Satya Yuga, they worship Kali Yuga. They're desiring to take birth in Kali Yuga because the Yuga Dharma is so powerful that they can make incredible advancement. So it's just part of the process. That we go through these difficulties. They're tests from Krishna, but they're minimized, but they're still there, so we can expect it. But the peace can be there in spite of that. Just like when Prabhupada was in his final days, the doctor said to him, Swamiji, we can't understand why you're not screaming for morphine, because the situation would be so painful. And then they quoted that verse, Bhavosadakshchotra manobiramat. This is my medicine. And he just kept on translating. So the point is that we can develop detachment from these distresses that we go through as devotees. Even the distresses
when we're in management, we're at GBC and there's politics or something against us, you know? So we can keep our brains cool just by understanding that this is actually Krishna. He's come to me in this way to purify my heart and bring me closer to him. Hare Krishna. Sorry, this is my Bhagavatam class for the day. Hare Krishna.
It's a nice addition to the class, and it is a fact that, you know, that due to our attachments, subtle, whatever, gross, we have, then to undo it, it can often not be done without pain. So then that's why whatever tribulations we undergo in Krishna consciousness, we should always stay in this movement and go through it, because it is Krishna's arrangement. Krishna is ultimately supervising and is ultimately bringing him closer to him through these tribulations, through these difficulties. We just have to stick it out and, you know, become better and better servants of him. That's
another really helpful thing is guyam akyati prichati, to reveal your mind in confidence when the heat's turned way up, you know, on the test. You know, find a trusted devotee and reveal to him what's going on, and then it becomes clear. You know, what to do, how to move ahead. Tigache?
Thank you very much. So it's time, it's overtime. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Or Premanande.